All right, so today we're going to be diving into something that, well, we all know and love, or at least need to survive.
Right.
Water.
Yeah.
I mean, you reach for a glass, you take a sip, and it seems like, it's like the simplest thing in the world.
Yeah.
But have you ever considered, like, why some people, they just swear by bottled water,
Mm-hmm.
while others, they're perfectly happy with just whatever flows from their tap?
It really is, it's a bit of a paradox, isn't it? I mean, because we're taught that water is tasteless, right?
Right. Yeah.
But yet we all have these preferences. And some people even have like strong opinions about, uh, you know, about different kinds of water.
Totally.
And then you have all these marketing campaigns, right?
Yeah.
Touting water as being like crisp and smooth and pure.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so if it's all just H2O, how can these differences even exist?
Okay, so there's definitely something more going on here than that meets the eye or the taste bud, I guess, in this case.
Right.
So this is where this study that we're looking at today comes in, the Aquatic Paradox.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really making some waves in how we think about water.
Yeah. Yeah. This research really gets into, it explores this idea called the Aquatic Subjectivity Hypothesis, or ASH.
Okay.
And essentially what it suggests is that, our experience of water, taste, like what we think about when we taste water,
Right.
isn't just about the chemical makeup, but it's also heavily influenced by our psychology and our expectations and our perceptions.
Okay. So are you saying that my brain is basically playing tricks on me when it comes to water?
It's more about our brains are just constantly making these predictions.
Right.
Think about it this way. I mean, we've all had experiences that have kind of shaped our expectations about how things should taste.
Right.
So if you see a bottle of water, let's say, and it's this fancy bottle of water,
Yeah.
and it has these pictures of, pristine glaciers and mountains and stuff, your brain might automatically kind of associate that with purity and freshness, even before you even take a sip.
Right. Okay, so is it all just marketing hype then? Or are we all just being fooled by these fancy labels and clever branding?
Well, that's what's so interesting. The study, they actually did some really fascinating blind taste trials
Okay.
where participants tasted various water samples, including some that were chemically identical,
Wow.
but they were presented in different ways.
Okay.
And what they found was that people actually described the same water in completely different ways.
Really?
Yeah, some people would call it, smooth or refreshing,
Mhm.
while others found it flat or even metallic.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Yeah, and what's really remarkable is that even when people tasted the same water twice, their descriptions would vary wildly.
Oh, wow.
So it really highlights how powerful our preconceived notions, and our expectations can be in shaping our sensory experiences.
Okay, but how do we know? I mean, how do we know they weren't just making it up?
Yeah.
Because, people can be easily swayed by suggestion.
That's a really good point. And the researchers took that into account.
Okay.
So they actually conducted what's called the hydropsychological influence study,
Okay.
where they presented the same water samples, but they presented them to different groups.
Okay.
And the kicker is they used different labels.
Oh, interesting.
So one group was told they were tasting, imported glacier essence.
Okay.
And the other group, they got municipal tap reserve.
All right, let me guess. Everyone raved about the glacier essence.
Yeah.
And the tap reserve was met with shrugs.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So the glacier essence, they were praising it, clean, refreshing taste.
Of course.
But then the tap reserve was just perceived as more, ordinary.
Yeah.
So it really just drives home the point that that branding, even on something as basic as water, can have a really surprisingly powerful impact on our perception.
Okay, so it's not that our taste buds are lying to us. It's that our brains are adding their own spin on things based on our expectations and past experiences.
Right.
But hold on. There's another layer to this, right?
Yes.
Something about water having a memory.
Yes.
And that's where things start to get really out there.
Yes. The study also touches upon this this more speculative concept. It's called Quantum Hydro-Memory Encoding.
Okay.
It's the idea that water molecules might retain a sort of imprint or memory of the environments they've been exposed to.
Now, this is where my brain starts to feel like it needs a refill.
Right?
Are we saying that, water molecules, are they, holding on to memories, like how our brains do?
Not exactly. It's more about subtle energetic imprints.
Okay.
So think about this, right? Water is incredibly dynamic.
Right.
And it's very sensitive.
Yeah.
It's interacting with everything around it. It's forming, breaking bonds with other molecules. And so what this theory is suggesting is that those interactions could leave a sort of energetic signature on the water.
Okay. So is there any actual scientific evidence to support this? Or is it just a really fascinating but kind of far-fetched theory?
You know, it's definitely still a frontier area of science.
Okay.
There's a lot more research that's needed to fully understand it.
Right.
But the researchers, they suggest that this quantum memory could actually be one of the factors that influences how we perceive the taste of water.
Okay. So just to be clear, are you saying that, like, the water I'm drinking right now
Mhm.
could be carrying, like, subtle energetic traces of a mountain spring, let's say, or even the emotions of the people who bottled it?
Yeah,
That's a wild thought.
it is. It's certainly a very intriguing concept. But you know, even if the quantum aspect remains kind of unproven,
Yeah.
the study's findings about the subjectivity of taste and the influence of psychology are, I mean, they're quite groundbreaking. You know, it challenges us to really think about water and maybe even other things that we consider tasteless in a whole new light.
This is already making me look at my humble glass of water in a whole new way. But I'm also really curious about the practical implications of this research. I mean, this isn't just some, like, abstract scientific theory, is it?
Right.
It could have, it could have real-world consequences for how we produce and market and even think about water in the future.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the potential applications of this are vast. I mean, and it really touches upon everything from the bottled water industry to our understanding of health and well-being. But we'll dive into those fascinating possibilities in the next part of our deep dive. Welcome back to our deep dive into this fascinating world of water.
Yeah.
And it's surprisingly complex taste. So
Yeah.
we've been exploring this whole idea of how our perception of water, right?
Right.
It's shaped by a lot more than just its chemical composition.
Yeah. We've talked about how these psychological factors, right?
Right.
Things like branding
Mm-hmm.
and our expectations, how they can play this huge role in how we experience water,
Mm-hmm.
even down to the words we use to describe it.
Absolutely.
And then we even ventured into that mind-bending theory
Yeah.
of quantum hydro-memory encoding.
Right. Right.
The idea that water molecules might retain some kind of energetic memory of their past, that's wild stuff.
Yeah. It's out there.
Yeah.
It is.
But now I'm really curious about the real-world implications of this research.
Mm.
Because this isn't just some abstract scientific theory, is it?
No. No.
It has the potential to really change how we think about water on this practical level.
Yeah. I think one area where this research could have a significant impact is in the bottled water industry.
Oh, interesting.
You know, it really makes you think, because if our perception of taste
Yeah.
is so heavily influenced by branding and expectation, right, companies could, in theory, create these like designer waters
Oh, wow.
that are tailored to specific tastes or moods.
Oh, that's really interesting.
Imagine a world where you can buy water that's marketed as, calming,
Right.
or energizing, or, even creativity boosting,
Right.
all based on just the subtle manipulation of our perception.
It sounds a bit like science fiction.
A little bit, yeah.
But if this aquatic subjectivity hypothesis is true,
Yeah,
I mean, it's entirely possible, right?
totally within the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
I mean, we already see that happening with all sorts of products, right? Like
Yeah.
marketing plays such a huge role.
But wouldn't that just lead to even more marketing hype, though?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, are we going to be bombarded with even more pseudo-scientific claims about water?
I think those are valid concerns.
Yeah.
And I think as consumers, we need to be really aware
Right.
of how marketing can influence our choices. I mean, that's really what this research does, is it empowers us
Yeah.
to ask these critical questions about the
Mhm.
products we buy.
Absolutely.
And that includes water.
Beyond bottled water, I mean, this research, it has implications for our understanding of health and well-being, right?
Yeah.
If water can truly carry this energetic imprint,
Right.
as this quantum hydro-memory encoding theory suggests,
Mm-hmm.
then it could have these really profound effects on our bodies and minds, couldn't it?
It's a fascinating possibility.
Yeah.
And it's definitely one that deserves further investigation.
For sure.
However, I think it's really important to remember
Yeah.
that this theory is still highly speculative.
Okay.
And more research is definitely needed to determine, if and how water's energetic properties can truly affect us.
So we should be cautious
Yes.
about jumping to conclusions about miracle water or anything like that.
Exactly.
But even if that, the quantum aspect remains unproven, the study's findings about the subjectivity of taste,
Right.
they have huge implications for fields like, like nutrition and medicine.
Absolutely. I mean, if our perception of taste can be so easily manipulated, right?
Right.
It could lead to new strategies for encouraging, healthier eating habits.
Right.
Imagine if we could use this understanding to make healthy foods more appealing,
Right.
or even to help people overcome aversions to certain tastes.
That would be incredible.
It would.
I mean, it opens up this whole new world of possibilities
Yeah.
for improving our diets and overall well-being.
This is really just the tip of the iceberg, I think.
Yeah.
The Aquatic Paradox study it's thrown open the doors to this whole new way of thinking about water and taste perception.
It's a powerful reminder, I think, that even the most seemingly simple and fundamental substances can hold these profound mysteries.
Yeah.
And it really highlights, I think, the incredible power of our minds to shape our experience of the world around us.
For sure.
So the next time you take a sip of water, just remember, you're not just quenching your thirst.
Yeah.
You're engaging in this really complex interplay of chemistry, psychology, and maybe even a touch of quantum magic.
A little sprinkle of quantum magic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This has been such a rich and thought-provoking topic.
It has.
But before we get too lost in the quantum realm, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive with some final thoughts and reflections on what we've learned.
Great.
What are some key takeaways you think our listeners should keep in mind? Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been on quite a journey here.
We have.
Exploring the surprising complexity of something as seemingly simple as water, right?
It is, yeah. We've gone from the basic chemistry of H2O to the psychology of taste perception.
Yeah.
And we even dipped our toes into the intriguing, maybe speculative realm of quantum memory.
Yeah, exactly. But as we wrap up, I kind of want to bring it back to back to you, the listener. Like, what does all of this mean for your everyday life?
I think if we can connect this all back to the bigger picture, it's really about becoming more aware of how our senses and our perceptions are shaped by factors beyond just, the physical properties of things. Like we are constantly bombarded with marketing messages, cultural influences, even our own past experiences, and all of those things. They can subtly shape how we experience the world.
Absolutely.
Even something as basic as the taste of water.
Next time you reach for a glass of water, take a moment to really, really pay attention to it. What are you tasting? Or perhaps what do you think you're tasting?
Right.
Are you being influenced by the brand, the packaging, or even like the stories that you've heard about different types of water?
I think that kind of awareness is it can be really empowering.
Yeah.
Because, by understanding how our perceptions can be influenced, we can start to kind of separate objective reality from our subjective experience.
It's fascinating to think that our senses, which we often just take for granted, right?
Yeah.
They're not infallible.
No.
They're constantly interpreting and filtering information based on all these factors that we might not even be conscious of.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily a bad thing either, because our ability to find meaning and pleasure in the world, that's deeply connected to our subjective experiences. I mean, imagine a world where, everything tasted exactly the same, regardless of our expectations or our associations, I mean, it would be a pretty dull place.
Yeah, for sure. So the key takeaway here isn't to become
Right.
cynical or
Yeah.
distrustful of our senses.
No.
It's more about just being mindful.
Exactly.
Question your assumptions,
Yeah.
explore different perspectives,
Yeah.
and don't be afraid to, to challenge what you think you know.
I think that's really it.
Yeah.
And who knows, with a little bit of open-mindedness and curiosity, that next sip of water
Yeah.
might reveal a whole new world of taste and sensation that you never knew existed.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive
You got it.
into the Aquatic Paradox.
Yeah.
We hope it's left you with,
Yeah.
a thirst for knowledge
Sure.
and a renewed appreciation for the wonders of water, even if it is
Right.
at its core,
Mm-hmm.
It's plain old H2O.
Yeah.
Until next time, stay curious.